Wall Street veteran Bernard Madoff has been arrested and charged with running a $50 billion Ponzi scheme.
Congress wants to know what caused the Enron meltdown.
Now, while the collective rage currently is focused on WorldCom,
Tyco CEO Dennis Kozlowski was convicted of looting hundreds of millions of dollars.
This is one of the biggest fraud cases ever.
Their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Find out more on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
The world's oldest profession is one that has been under scrutiny for centuries. Many people look down upon it. It's been criminalized and judged, yet millions of people participate in it daily. With the rise of OnlyFans and other websites, sex work has a new platform and is presented to us in new ways that have made something hush-hush now part of everyday life. However, despite sex being so in our faces every single day, working in the field is still taboo, even when it's done in a safe and classy manner. Jean Palfrey, a former escort and madam, changed the way that people viewed sex work and erected a new type of business that catered to people who enjoyed the finer things in life. However, her world came down when the government caught her on a technicality. Find out what happened on this week's episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
I feel like it's not this, but what I'm imagining, right, is bearskin rugs and a fireplace in basically everything she does. Like exclusively her set is bearskin rugs, a fireplace, like a cheese board, like on a hand cut wood dining room table.
Feeding people grapes.
Something, yeah, grape shaped. There's definitely grape shaped objects there. Is what I'm saying. Yeah,
eggplant shaped objects as well. If we and peach shaped objects.
Yeah, those are on the charcuterie board. Like I said.
Yeah, with Georgia O'Keeffe in the background.
Who?
Yes. Okay. Anyways, welcome to another episode of White Collars, Red Hands.
I'm Kashan.
And I'm Nina. Welcome to the season 20, episode 2. Well, welcome to season 20, episode 2. If you are watching and did not watch the first episode, it does look a little bit different than it used to because Sean moved away from me. And now we are doing this virtually.
You say it like I abandoned you like a parent.
You did.
Okay, well, we'll unpack that later.
You said, I'm going to get laid off. Fuck you. I'm moving to another state.
I chose to get let go from my company. I chose that.
He couldn't stand me anymore. He was like, the only way I can do this is if I don't see you in person anymore. And then he moved.
Yeah, I walked into my work one day and was just like, I hate this lady I know. Can you fire me? I need an excuse to move across the country. It's exactly what happened. You saw it. I should have given you credit that you would have known.
100%. No, but we are virtual now, but I promise the content is still as good. All right. Today's story, a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun researching this and learning about Miss Palfrey. Am I slightly concerned that I may be put on a list after doing this episode? Maybe, but it'll be fun.
Join the club.
Join the club. All right. Well, having class and style was something Jean Palfrey couldn't deny. The Pennsylvania native grew up knowing she wanted more than just a mediocre life. Friends from high school describe her as serious, shy, and caring. Originating in Pennsylvania and then moving to Florida, Palfrey got her degree in criminal justice. She briefly attended Thomas Jefferson School of Law, but she did not finish her degree. There was better money in store for her.
Better than a lawyer?
Better than a lawyer.
All right. We'll see.
It was then that she started working as a paralegal. She then did work as an interior designer as well. And then she got involved with some less legal activities. So we've all heard of people joke about becoming OnlyFans models or selling their body for extra cash. But for many people, this joke is a reality. Palfrey found herself in the world of escorting, a great way to make some cash. Palfrey was working as an interior designer and realized that she could be making a lot more money doing other work. And she was right. At that time, it was like the 80s, I think. She was only making about, now this was the 80s, she was in California, but she was only making about $20,000 to $30,000 a year as an interior designer. And so she was like, which I don't know where she was interior designing at. I feel like even at that time, she should have been making more money. But that was something she wanted. She wanted to make more money.
Well, the big bucks come to the exterior designers because that's where people can see it.
Yeah, you're right.
Also, did you say the 80s? So this is like, she's kind of older then.
She will be older. Wait until we get going.
That was also not part of the mental picture I had, but hey, you know what? It's not unwelcome.
Well, I will say that all of this went down almost like this story originates in the 80s, but it's all going to go down in the early 2000s. So this story is slightly dated. It is almost 20 years old. Palfrey was a beautiful woman and should be paid to be adored. But soon after she was getting involved in the world of escorting, she realized how skeezy and horrible it could be. I don't know if she never watched a movie or a television show, but she was appalled at the things that she saw. It comes as no surprise to any of us that the world of escorting can be filled with drugs, violence, and danger. Palfrey was seeing drug-addicted women being forced outside their comfort zones to perform acts that their pimps demanded of them. Palfrey knew that there was money to be made in this business. Hell, people have been making money doing this for centuries. But she knew that it could be done in a safer and classier way. And that's when she decided to go into business for herself. Palfrey ran her own escort business, but was arrested in 1990 for pimping, pandering, and extortion.
The Holy Trinity.
Palfrey knew that she did not want to go to prison, and she tried to escape. She made a much better escort than a fugitive because she was caught on the Montana-Canada border trying to escape. They brought her ass right back to California because she was living in California at the time, where she was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Palfrey served her entire term, noting that prison was one of the most traumatic experiences of her life. She suffered a lot of abuse and assault there. And those who were close to her said that the experience fundamentally changed her as a person. She swore to everyone she knew that she would never go back to prison. Upon her release, she promised the judge that she would never go back to sex work or run a prostitution ring ever again.
Something about the way our episodes usually go makes me think that she might break that promise of not going back to prison. But hey, who knows? Maybe you'll surprise me. Maybe she'll surprise me. Who knows?
Well, we'll see. There is a promise she did break right away. But, you know, like a fat kid returns to cake, Deborah Jean Palfrey returns to the bed. But this time, she didn't lay in it. Almost immediately after the prison doors closed behind her, Palfrey started Pamela Martin and Associates, a company that sold Fantasies for $300 per hour with an hour-and-a-half minimum. Saying that the company sold Fantasies was a legal loophole. It was illegal to sell intercourse or oral sex, but everything else was good to go. As long as Palfrey didn't know what the gals, that's what she would call them, her gals. As long as Palfrey didn't know what the gals were up to in that hour and a half, she could deny selling sex. The women had to sign contracts saying that if they were caught doing anything illegal, they would be terminated.
Yeah, so the girls doing it could technically still get caught. Like that's still in exchange of money. Like if they get caught having sex and getting money in exchange, they're still technically doing something illegal, right? It's just that she has plausible deniability being like, no, I didn't know. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, obviously, if someone is paying you for a fantasy for an hour and a half, minimum of what would then be $450, I think it's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell situation. I think it's very much implied what is going to be happening.
So it's cool if I'm just in there and I'm just like, I really need to info dump about the lore of Magic the Gathering real quick. That's my
You
That's my
could've-
fantasy.
Palfrey ran the company differently than she did last time. She only employed gals who were over the age of 25.
So they're mature. Nice.
Yeah, well, the last time she got caught was because I think all of the women were obviously always over legal age, but she had hired some younger girls before or younger women before, and one of their mothers is actually who turned her in because she was upset that her daughter was escorting. So she said, I'm only taking women who are 25 the ages. Honestly, she had women employed who were ages 25 to 55. So, I mean, your fantasy could be whatever I wanted. You want GILF? You want MILF? We've got it.
I just want someone who is an
Hot
open.
life? We got it.
I just want someone who's an open listener and is really interested in, the story behind the oldest trading card game in human history.
We've got it.
Great.
We can do that for you. But anyway, she always hired women who were 25 and older. They usually had another career and were already somewhat successful. She picked women who were college educated or obtaining a college education. It was said that she wanted to hire an Ann Taylor type of woman, which meant she wanted them classy, elegant, good-humored, with personality. And this was also something, she also wanted to hire a woman who would not stand out in a hotel lobby. So, there are particular types of people that if they're in a hotel, you might question what their activities are. And she wanted a classy lady who looked like, she was really there on business, which I mean, she technically was. Women who were interested in working for Palfrey did have to go through a vetting process where testers would approve of the women, which that was like the sketchiest part to me of this whole thing was that somebody had to, so they had to hook up with these predetermined men that Palfrey had. This was the worst thing to me. And then I don't think they got paid for that. And then if they met these men's standards, then she would hire them. However, a lot of the women did say that they were treated really well under Palfrey, that they made money, they had control of their schedules. She did require them to work 3 nights a week. But other than that, you made your own schedule, you made your money. Yeah.
Could you imagine being one of those guys that someone's like, oh, what do you do for work? You're like, I'm a quality control tester of a sort.
Oh, what are you quality control testing?
Vagina. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if there was a tightness measurement or
Yeah, how many Newton meters? How many Newton meters is she pulling?
Palfrey decided to make this business more high end. She wanted to go all the way to the top of Capitol Hill, that is. She launched her business in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., and she advertised in the yellow pages since the internet was not accessible yet. Although her business was in D.C., Palfrey herself lived in California. Palfrey ran a successful business, pleasing the men of Washington, D.C. from 1993 to 2006, and made millions of dollars doing so.
It's a common profession for men in Washington, D.C. that have a lot of money. Bold prediction, we're seeing at least one senator.
Now, although Palfrey's business was ran in D.C., she still lived in California, and that is going to be a big problem in this case. So while Palfrey enjoyed her life as a successful business owner, she got to the age where she was ready to retire. She wanted more for herself. She wanted to live abroad in Berlin, Germany. She was ready to settle down, retire. She wanted to leave the world of escorting behind her and start a new venture. But while on a trip to Germany looking for apartments to buy, Palfrey discovered that her accounts had been seized. The news was broken to her by a banker at Charles Schwab when she was trying to day trade and was running into issues with her account. She came back to the United States, and that's when her world came crashing down. So she was just trying to do some day trading, and she was having problems with her account. And so she was on the phone with a customer service representative, and they're like, ma'am, your assets have been seized by the federal government. I would recommend getting a lawyer.
There's a note attached to the order of seizure that just says, this can't be right. You a trifling ass hoe? Does that mean anything to you? Anyway, man, yeah, you can't day trade today. Sorry.
So the government had used civil forfeiture to seize Palfrey's accounts. Civil forfeiture is when the government seizes property of someone who is suspected of being involved in criminal activity, even if the owner is never charged with anything. The government can seize money that you made from the illegal activities, charge you, and then take the money. So investigators had also tried to gain access to Palfrey's home while she was in Germany because, she was already under investigation with the FBI. She didn't know she was, but they were investigating her, and they wanted to go into her house. And then they saw that there was a for sale sign in her yard in Sacramento. And so they tried to go in. They pretended like they were potential buyers. They contacted her realtor, but the realtor denied them entry because the owner was not in town. They came back with a search warrant. They raided Palfrey's home, in which they found nothing. When she returned to find her home raided, this was crazy. They did not catch this. They did not find this. She had boxes and boxes and boxes of client phone numbers in her basement that they just didn't seize, that she still had access to.
Well, you know, the FBI doesn't usually find long lists of men's names, at least publicly. Mm-mm. So those don't exist usually. Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, never. This case was unprecedented in many ways, due to the fact that prostitution is not a federal crime, and also that other escort services were not being investigated at the time. The other thing, too, I found out while doing this case, I guess you typically do not get a search warrant because they had been investigating her for several years. And usually you don't get a search warrant unless it's within the first 6 months of the investigation, was what I had learned while researching this. So there were a couple things that were unconventional about this. So why did the FBI target Palfrey? Some suspect that she knew too much and had clients who wanted to keep her quiet. However, Palfrey had also been using the mail to send money back and forth with her gals and transfer them and to do transfers. So they would make their money from the client, then they would mail Palfrey her portion of the money. So the government this weird mail transaction had tipped the USPS off, and that's what allegedly started the investigation.
Well, yeah, the post office has their own subsector of investigation forces that is always just investigating the mail, and they do a lot of really crazy stuff. So I'm sure that this was just them being we're noticing large amounts of money traveling through the mail between this one person and multiple people. They're always on the lookout for stuff like that.
Washington D.C. I'm not gonna say who, but I have a family member who worked in that department of the United States Postal Service. And they said it was a very boring job for them, but they did find some cool stuff. If Palfrey had resided in Maryland and done all of her operations in Maryland with no escorts leaving the state, she never would have gotten in trouble. In 2007, Palfrey was indicted with racketeering, using the mail for illegal services or mail fraud, and money laundering. She pled not guilty. She was not going to make a plea deal. She made that very obvious. She wanted to go to trial. When the government seized her money, it left Palfrey absolutely penniless without the ability to pay for a lawyer. She knew that she was sitting on all these client phone numbers. Obviously, she did not know. I mean, these people were not always using their real names when they were booking escorts, obviously, but she knew that a lot of these clients were very, very powerful clients, and she knew that people would want those names, and she was going to sell them. However, a judge declared that any money she made from selling the names or selling the numbers would be seized as well. She decided to put the list of client phone numbers in the hands of ABC News in New York. So she was like, here you guys go, because she felt like they were going to do a fair investigation of all the client phone numbers. ABC found that Palfrey's clients were indeed high-end. Many of her clients were successful businessmen, employees of NASA, CEOs, and she also had some politicians whose names got leaked.
Called it.
Good foreshadowing, Kashan.
It's not, I mean, wasn't hard to put 1 and 2 together there, but yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all. One of the men that were politicians that was named was Randall Tobias, a State Department official. The other, Harlan Ullman, who was a Defense Department official. Ullman was the mastermind behind shock and awe, which was a strategy that was used in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And shock and awe made its way into many headlines after his name was leaked. Palfrey said that she specifically remembered working with Ullman because he was super unpleasant to deal with. When news broke, Ullman claimed that nothing sexual happened with the gals that he hired. They just came over to give him a massage.
Yeah.
He did, however, resign from his position very quickly after this scandal broke.
Well, yeah, because I don't go to the grocery store and hire the cashier to come to my house and cook for me, right? It's like if you're hiring a massage therapist, you do not go to a place selling Fantasies. You go to a masseuse. So,
right.
Come on, man.
And they have masseuses that will come to your home.
They have masseuses that'll come to your home and jerk you off. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you even, like, you could have gotten this from it, and then that would have made sense. But so your cover story doesn't.
Also, probably wouldn't have gotten you in trouble because it's a masseuse.
Okay, well, I mean, it is still illegal, but yeah, they're not going to prove that it's happening in your house, right? So.
Another prominent government official whose name to appear on the list was David Vitter, a Republican senator from Louisiana who touted family values.
At least one senator, I said. Perfect.
You did. He pled for forgiveness from the general public, and he told them that he had already confessed his sins to God and his wife, Wendy. He really ran on the fact that he was a God-fearing man. So it was like, oh, my wife forgave me, God gave me, you can forgive me now too. But his wife, Wendy, it was interesting because previously she had been asked at some point when the whole Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal broke. They had asked her, what would you do if your husband cheated on you like Bill cheated on Hillary? And she said on record that she was more of a Laura Bobbitt than a Hillary Clinton. And then if her husband cheated on her, she would walk away with one thing, and it wouldn't be alimony.
So does Mr. Vitter still have his penis, or?
I'm pretty sure that David Vitter's appendages are all intact.
Can't live up. She can talk the talk, but can't walk the walk, right? Or I guess she can talk the talk, but she can't cut off the cock. You know.
Good one.
Just saying.
Was good. Now, David Vitter made it seem like him hiring Pamela Martin and Associates was like a brand new thing, a one-time thing, but he was very frequently hiring escort services. Not super surprising. He was known in New Orleans because he's from Louisiana. He was known in New Orleans as Vitter the Shitter because of his diaper fetish.
That it's even more I don't know. I feel like it's even more embarrassing to have in what is it? ADBL, the ABDL, adult baby diaper lover fetish.
Baby diaper lover.
It's even worse to have it in the early 2000s because the internet was not, super popular. So he found that you just had the inception of the internet and we hadn't gotten there. Yeah, so he found that organically. He saw a baby and was like, I want to be that baby. He didn't see online someone else doing it and it awoke something in him. He was just he had a deep urge from inside that he's I must shit in a diaper. which is crazy to me.
Maybe it was like not a baby. Maybe it was like an old person that he saw shit in a diaper and he was like, well, that might be fun.
Nina, is that any better? I have to ask you. I don't think so.
I don't know.
You're trying to like make it better. Stop. It's not going to be better. It's weird either way.
Not to kink shame on this podcast, but like, what the fuck? Anyway.
Yeah, you just can't be a senator. You can dress up like a baby all you want, shake a rattle, goo goo gaga, drink from a bottle, shit in a diaper. But it's just, I don't want to elect you to represent us in a democracy. I'm sorry.
No, if you poop your pants, like, I just don't want you in charge of anything.
Which is why I'm so glad Mitch McConnell finally resigned.
So it was said that, Deborah Jean Palfrey, she gave ABC News all these phone numbers. And those were the only names of notoriety that were leaked. They reported that most of the men on the list were not newsworthy, but there were rumors that former Vice President Dick Cheney was on the list, as well as Rudy Giuliani and Ted Cruz. This whole scandal got reignited in the 2016 election because people were bringing up that Ted Cruz was on this list.
Yeah, and then he was also the Zodiac killer.
Yeah, that too. So Palfrey, her story got a lot of attention. She did a ton of different interviews and stuff like that. She really made sure her face was out there and that she was very much in the public so that people would know about the story. But Palfrey went on the Alex Jones show. I know. Alex Jones, the Sandy Hook denier. She was on his show and she went out on there to air out all of her grievances. She told him that she was hopeful for the trial because she had been appointed a decent lawyer, Preston Burton, who also had represented Monica Lewinsky during the scandal with Bill Clinton for a little bit. She ultimately did change lawyers, and she went with a lawyer who was representing her in the civil forfeiture case. Same lawyer who was representing her in the civil forfeiture case, Montgomery Blair Sibley. Now, Sibley had asked the judge for a subpoena of the telephone companies, their phone records, so that they could get the names of more of the clients that were calling in for Palfrey's services. At first, the judge granted the subpoena, but then that judge was replaced. The new judge, Judge James Robertson, quashed all the subpoenas issued to the government agencies. This move because they were subpoenaing the agencies as well as the telephone company. So this move made it so that 87% of Palfrey's clients could not be identified. And he had also sealed the names of the 815 people who had been identified.
I mean, I guess technically because of that loophole, right, you can't say that they knowingly did something illegal, even though that's really fucking annoying.
Because technically they participated in only fantasies, and then at the same time, it doesn't negate the fact that she was running an escort service. Just because your clients are who your clients are doesn't make the fact that you did something illegal null and void.
Well, yeah, I'm saying for her, that makes sense because they have some instances where they can prove that it wasn't just this fantasies thing, right? But that's probably why I could see him being like, well, let's not bring all 815 people into this.
Well, right.
Because of that.
Robertson, the Judge Robertson, then took Sibley off the case and then reinstated Burton. So she had Burton, she changed to Sibley. The judge said, no, you're keeping Burton. I think that this was a little bit rose-colored. Palfrey kind of had her rose-colored glasses on a little bit because Palfrey hoped that clients would step forward and defend her business, saying that Pamela Martin and Associates were not selling sex. But her lawyer actually did not call a single client to the stand to defend her. And then also, here's the other thing. Like the fact that these names were sealed no one's going to come forward and just defend your business. The only way, in my opinion, the only way somebody's going to defend your business and say, yeah, I bought escort services, because I think even still, purchasing a sex worker is kind of seen as taboo and people judge it. But especially 20 years ago, it was way more frowned upon. So there's no way that somebody is going to step out of the shadows and say, yes, I bought these services without being subpoenaed and told that they needed to do it or to defend themselves. Palfrey's own gals testified against her, and it wasn't pretty. One former employee detailed that she engaged in coitus with clients 90 to 95% of the time, and that she was expected to bring her own protection with her. There was a conversation that her and Deborah Jean Palfrey had back and forth where she was like, who provides the condoms? Is it me or the client? And she's like, no, you need to bring your own condoms. Which is not a good look, especially for somebody who is saying that if you involve yourself in illegal activity, that you're going to be terminated, but yet you're supposed to bring your own condoms, shouldn't even need the condoms. It's not a good look.
Definitely not
a good look at all. After a long trial, Deborah Jean Palfrey was found guilty on all counts of money laundering, mail fraud, and racketeering. She faced a maximum of 55 years in prison, but was expected to serve 6 to 7 years. For a woman in her early 50s, this was pretty much a death sentence. If she would have, I think she was 52 at the time that she was convicted. If she had served the 6 years, she would have gotten out at 58. She would have had no money. She was never married. She never had children, so she really didn't have anyone to support her. And then if she, for some reason, got sentenced for the full 55 years, she would have died in prison. It was said that Palfrey was absolutely devastated after the trial, and rightfully so. She had ended her business and was set to move abroad, and her whole life had been pulled out from under her. She was left absolutely penniless and without hope. After the trial, she was staying at her mother's house in Florida, where it is said she sat in her room and cried for 2 weeks straight. On May 1st, warning, there is mention of suicide. So now it's a spoiler alert. But if you want to skip forward for probably 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, you can do so. On May 1st, 2008, Deborah Jean Palfrey was found hanging from a nylon rope in the shed connected to her mother's house. Her mother, Blanche Palfrey, had found her. Palfrey had left 2 suicide notes, one addressed to her mother and the other addressed to her sister, detailing that she had no other options than to end her life. She felt as though she had no other way out. Although the death was an apparent suicide and ruled to be a suicide, many questioned if Palfrey's death was what it seemed. Palfrey had told an investigator that she would rather die than go back to prison after the trauma she had experienced there. But then there was other evidence that Palfrey had said she was not considering suicide. In her interview with Alex Jones, she told Jones that she was not considering killing herself and would not be killing herself, and that she felt that she needed to fight the system and stand up for what was right.
Why did that even come up in the interview?
So you're about to find out. She was questioned about this because a former gal of hers, Brandy Britton, had ended her life when she was arrested for prostitution. So this was kind of happening at the exact same time. This woman, Brandy Britton, she was actually a professor at a top university, was also escorting on the side. She originally worked for Palfrey, ended up leaving Pamela Martin and Associates, and she went off and worked for herself. And then she was arrested for prostitution, and she was going to go to trial, all that stuff. And then they found her hanging from her home, hanging in her living room. So that happened around the same time that all of this was happening. And they were like, what do you what do you think about Brandy Britton? And she said, well, I know that she had some powerful clients. There is a question of whether or not she was questioning Brandy Britton's suicide. And so then Alex Jones said, so you're not considering suicide? And she said, no, I'm not suicidal. I'm not considering suicide. Jean Palfrey wanted to make it clear that she would not be committing suicide. But I mean, the evidence did kind of show that she killed herself, that there was no foul play. But a friend did claim that it was not her signature on the suicide notes that she left for her mother and sister. And many people who interacted with her prior to her death said that she seemed in good spirits and didn't seem like she would hurt herself. Others had said that Palfrey had expressed concern for her safety and was worried that she might be being followed. However, you know what we all said, like we all have heard the phrase, like, check on your friends who are happy, check on your friends who are fine. You know, how many times have we heard that people have ended their lives and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that they were struggling. I mean, Palfrey was in a pretty hopeless situation. And I could see why she might, for lack of a better word, change her mind and decide that that was her only option.
Well, also,
but there are other.
Well, also people say that, you know, if you have friends that, you know, struggle with depression or anxiety and they suddenly seem like really happy or at peace, you should actually follow up more with them, because people who are about to commit suicide oftentimes will exhibit that behavior right before. So, you know, it's sometimes counterintuitive.
Yeah. Some people believe that Pamela Martin and Associates was being used for political blackmail and that the company was being used to take down high-end officials. A lot of people who wouldn't want their names leaked for using an escort service. Palfrey had claimed that someone might have targeted her business without her knowledge, and that was why she was being prosecuted in such a manner. She felt like, you know, the fact that they blocked the names from being leaked, that the judge revoked the subpoenas, stuff like that. The fact that no other escort services were being investigated at the time. She really felt like she was being targeted. Palfrey believed that when she quit her business and sold her home, that people got scared and then went after her. There was a source that claimed that Palfrey and her employees had gathered some information that would be important for the 9/11 Commission to know, but that is just hearsay. So they did really interact with a lot of politicians in in D.C., but to say, I think that's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, obviously, but that's a pretty big claim.
Yeah, that's definitely a jet fuel can't melt steel beams kind of file it under probably conspiracy theory.
Yeah, no, for sure. Ultimately, though, Palfrey's death was ruled a suicide. Just like many of the stories that we cover here, justice is not always served. Deborah Jean Palfrey was made a spectacle of, the media and the government absolutely obliterating her, while other escort services, her clients, and her girls were left untouched. The men who used these services kept their job and their status. Their names were kept private, and they were able to continue about their lives. Not one of them suffered any consequences for their actions. Their skeletons remained in the closet while Palfrey's were hung for all the world to see. It is frustrating. Like, I mean, you know, what she did was illegal. What she wasn't supposed to be doing, what she was doing. I guess this also just kind of depends on how you view sex work as a whole. It's just frustrating, right? Like, it's always the women who are the ones who suffer at the end of this whenever, you know, there's always a need for this. There's always a demand. And when you provide the supply, it's always the people who are providing the supply that get in trouble and never the people who are buying it, or very rarely is it the people who are buying it, especially when those people are people of power. And I don't know, this story kind of made me sad. That is the story of Deborah Jean Palfrey, a madam whose death still remains a mystery to this day. No matter what side you are on in this story, we can all agree that some of the details were fishy, and we can all question if justice was truly served. Although Palfrey ran an illegal escort service, we all know that this work happens behind closed doors, whether we want to admit it or not. That being said, please consume ethical sex work however you enjoy doing it. And next time you engage, maybe think of Deborah Jean Palfrey, a woman who is just trying to make a living.
You don't have to think about it while you're engaging with it. You can maybe reflect on it afterwards. Might be a better suggestion. But whatever, man.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I wrote that last little bit because I knew you would hate it. I was like, he's gonna hate it.
Well, the way it's worded, I mean, yeah.
She was hot.
That's not.
She was a pretty lady.
That's not a good defense of it at all. I'm gonna let that one lie there. Just drop that one. Let it lie there. That's fine.
Follow us on all of our social medias. You can find us on Facebook.com/WhiteCollarsRedHands. You can find us on Twitter at WhiteCollarsPod. It's X. You can find us on Instagram at WhiteCollars_RedHands. You can find us at TikTok at WhiteCollarsRedHands. We are also on YouTube at, you guessed it, White Collars, Red Hands. If you want another free way to support us, you could do so by leaving a review. You can do that on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We love a 5-star review, but an honest one works as well with constructive criticism. If you want another free way to support us, just tell a friend. If someone's looking for a podcast, suggest them, tell them about White Collars, Red Hands. We love what our friends love. Spread the love. Spread the good news. We are here. If you want an unfree way to support us, go on over to Dashery, and they will have all sorts of stuff for you to buy with our logo on it. And I think I covered it all.
Where can you get to that link?
Oh, you can get to it by our website, which is whitecollarsredhands.com. You can also leave us a show suggestion. If you hear a story and you're like, oh my gosh, 99 Hashan should totally cover that. You can submit a suggestion for a show. You can do that by DMing us on either Instagram or Facebook, wherever you want to DM us. But you can also send us an email through our website. That is whitecollarsredhands.com. And then the email is whitecollarsredhands@gmail.com. Now I think I got it all.
Yeah, that sounds it.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds it. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time on another episode of White Collars,
Red Hands. It's closer than last week.